Daily digital news. Bits and bytes connect our world.
Your quick roundup of everything that is happening in the tech world, in the UAE and around the world. Being in school can definitely be tough. Bullying is a big issue, and we've all seen it. We all know kids that have been bullied in school. We may have been even bullied ourselves in school. And in the age of COVID-19, bullying has taken a whole different look. It looks different, it sounds different because it revolves all around the pandemic. And many students have actually been teased for having COVID-19. As a result, students right here in the UAE have decided to create a website called Wasama to help with contact tracing while also protecting those who have been infected with COVID-19 from being scrutinized and bullied in online schools.
Yes, now the website, which is called Wasama, does anonymously notify people if they have been in contact with someone who has COVID-19. Now, the infected person will enter their name, email address, and a copy of their positive result, and then submit the names and numbers of people that they have been in contact with. Now, those people are then contacted and told to isolate for 10 days without naming who were they exposed to, which is amazing because sometimes a lot of people have the fear of confrontation.
Yeah.
You know, like, I have to call like 10 people now and say, hey, I got corona,
especially if they're
get
kids.
checked.
You know, if they're kids, students will start being like, oh, it's all Hani's fault. That's why I got infected.
I
That's
hear
why
that
I have
all
to
the time
quarantine.
anyways. Like just now before the show, you're like, it's your fault, Hani.
It's always your fault. No, but I mean, if you were back in school, it would
It
hurt
reminds
you.
me of that show, Everyone Blames Chris, or Everyone Hates Chris. I don't know what it's called. Everyone Blames Hani now.
Well, it's fitting. Isn't it your fault today, honey?
No, it's not my fault.
It's always your fault. Well,
yeah, see?
Going back to the story, with kids, it's definitely it's become a social stigma to get COVID-19 and then have to inform your friends and your colleagues that you have caught the virus and that they have to isolate as well. But this is all to help cut an end to the chain of infections, and it's very important that kids are truthful whenever they get infected with the virus. So a website like Wasama is definitely doing the job. Now, Wasama is wasama.co. It's wasama.co, and it's been created in response to the rise in cases that was happening in a specific school right here in the UAE, and that was students' efforts to try and curb that spread. Apart from that, many private schools in the UAE have temporarily closed just this last month as cases started to rise and increase, and this is all to try and put an end to the COVID-19 pandemic increase in cases. But with that also came increased teasing, increased social isolation, not necessarily COVID isolation, honey. It's social isolation that many students were struggling with, and that was also in turn endangering other kids.
Yeah, I mean, we have to look at it like this. Now, unfortunately, kids are ruthless. Kids are ruthless, and they don't take things into consideration, again, because they're not mature. It's just the way all kids are. But again, imagine like a child or a teenager or whatever gets COVID-19 and now he's forced to isolate in his room for 10 days. And at the same time, he opens his online phone and he watches Instagram or
WhatsApp
Twitter.
groups or whatever.
I'm like, hey, you got corona, ha ha ha. What did you do? Did you like lick a wall or something? Like these things can happen, and I'm 100% sure those type of conversations happen. So
And
it can be very...
Yeah, kids make a lot of inside jokes. So when these kids who were infected with the virus, they come back to school, they're being bullied even after they've done their isolation period.
Yeah, and it can affect someone's mental health a lot. And we've talked a lot about mental health during the COVID-19 pandemic. And going back to what Omni was saying, inside jokes, I mean, they could, they're done with COVID-19 and they go back to school and they said, hey, how was that wall? Did you lick it? You a wall licker? You know, because I believe that those things happen, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, we were all children. We were all in school. I mean, maybe for the females it's a little bit different. But
trust me, there's so much bullying. So much bullying.
But for the males, I mean, they'll make fun of everything. Hey, you have a weird nail. Hey, what's up, weird nail guy? You know, that's how it is.
Big thumbs, big toes, you name it, it happens. What's sad is schools are supposed to feel safe. And because of bullying, they're the complete opposite. And this type of bullying, especially with the COVID-19 pandemic, it can be very traumatic because kids are already struggling with living during unexpected times. Everything that felt normal to them has basically been switched in the blink of an eye, and they have to deal with that new normal, but also deal with other kids and other friends actually bullying them. So that shame aspect that was affecting their self-esteem is now it's now fixed with the wasama.co website that these students have created. And kids don't have to feel embarrassed letting the school supervisors know, letting other students know that they've been infected with COVID-19, but they're doing all of their steps to try and curb that spread.
Yes, now thankfully right here in the UAE, you're not allowed to bully anyone online or offline. It is illegal and it is a law. So yes, what Wasama is doing is amazing. But again, we have to remember, this goes for anyone and whoever. If you bully someone online, you will face consequences. The UAE government does not tolerate bullying. So always remember what you're posting online, who you're talking to online, and remember to be thoughtful. Yes, there's consequences, but remember, be a good person at the end of the day. You don't need to say whatever is on your mind all the time, because there is a cybersecurity authority here in the UAE. You will be held accountable for everything you say.
Absolutely.
Because it can reach a point where some people harm themselves because of bullying. But I want to know you guys' thoughts. 4215 do it slot or on our Instagram at Pulse95Radio. What do you think about this anti-bullying website where you can notify people if you got positive for COVID-19? But ladies and gentlemen, I want you guys to breathe a little bit deeper because we're taking a short break. But yes, breathing.
Daily digital news. Bits and bytes connect our world.
Ladies and gentlemen, bits and bytes do connect to our world, but how are we using technology with electricity? Believe it or not.
And
Did you know
space.
Yeah, I said we are connected through electricity. Technology works on electricity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was making a joke of me. It's okay, but space panels could soon beam electricity back to Earth. Now, I feel like it's something that we kind of never put into place in our brain.
I never imagined.
it, yes. Now, the independent newspaper does report that the Pentagon, which is in the United States, has been using its secretive X-37B space plane to test a solar panel that could one day beam electricity right down to Earth. Now, the photovoltaic radio frequency antenna module, big word, or as they like to call it, PRAM for short, is currently the size of a pizza box. Oh man, I want pizza.
Same, I'm now hungry.
Yeah, I'm hungry. But the technology could be scaled up in order to send massive amounts of clean and renewable energy to Earth via microwaves. Now, not the microwave you have in your kitchen, ladies and gentlemen, but it could possibly be enough energy to even power whole cities. Now, we know that a lot of people, or a lot of Elon Musk, for example, they're all pushing for solar panels and clean and renewable energy, which is 100% good. But at the same time, imagine if you had it up in space and not taking space, pun intended, right here on Earth.
Yes, indeed. And especially because it also helps cut down, as you mentioned, Hani, on the amount of pollution that we have right here on Earth. And also it makes sure that we're getting a source of energy that is not going to be, let's say, we won't struggle with shortage with this form of energy.
I mean, it's the sun.
It's space.
Yeah, the sun. Well, it gets from the sun.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll put it at that, but it's not necessarily the sunlight that they're taking. It's taking blue light energy. So it's different than the usual solar panels that we've seen right here on Earth.
Yes.
So that's a little bit of a difference right here on planet Earth. But because of the fact that the blue light energy cannot really pass through the Earth's atmosphere, what they're trying to do is collect this energy and beam it back to Earth so that we can make the most out of all those different forms of light that we get from the sun. We do know that the energy from the sun comes in different wavelengths, and none of these are actually usable on Earth except for a few. You know, we've used the infrared, we've used sometimes the UV light signals, but now we're also using the blue light energy from the sun as well to make sure that we are capturing and transmitting around 10 watts of energy back to planet Earth, which would be enough to actually power a phone or even a tablet. Yeah, as they advance this technology, it will hopefully be able to power full cities.
Yes, it does mean it's able to harness solar energy much more effectively than the old-fashioned terrestrial setups. However, if the system does scale up successfully, the technology actually could deliver significant amounts of power to remote regions of the globe, as well as provide electricity during natural disasters and emergencies. I mean, using solar energy is something a lot of people have been pushing for the past 20 years. I mean, I remember back in the day when I was in school, the solar energy powered car, right? And a lot of people in the United States actually have solar panels on their houses. I mean, it's a viable and good and a good invention.
Yes.
Now,
a lot of people may be wondering, where will these panels be placed? Well, they were actually launched into orbit last year, and they were aboard the space plane. So they'll basically be aboard spaceships spaceships that will help capture this energy and send it back to planet Earth so that we can make the most out of it right here on the mother planet.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Having those up in space, the blue light not going through the Earth's atmosphere, we're getting direct contact with the sun. So, I mean, it should be good, and I'm looking forward to clean and renewable energy. Ladies and gentlemen, text us in your thoughts, 4215. Do it, Salat, or on our Instagram at Pulse95 Radio. We're going to be taking a short break, but when we come back, we're talking about Microsoft.
Check this out. Check this out. Pulse 95.
Zoom fatigue is a very real thing. I will call it a real psychological disease. Because we all know that being on Zoom for long periods of time can cause a lot of us to get self-critical, to basically lose focus, but also to lose interest. I wish this invention was there when Hani and I were doing the shows over Zoom, because I feel like it would have really put us in the mood of being at a workplace, of having a workspace that is very similar to what we have in our actual studios right here on at Pulse 95. Microsoft is creating a new way that will transport us into the same meeting room as those that we are having the Zoom call or the Microsoft Teams call with. You are getting the option to teleport to a meeting as a hologram, which is actually, it feels like a fragment of the future coming to our real life.
I mean, aren't we the future already? I mean,
Yes,
we are future talk. But, ladies and gentlemen, it kind of reminds me of the augmented reality wardrobe.
Yes,
How-
and the HoloLens as well.
Yes, and the HoloLens. Now, it's called Microsoft Mesh, and it will allow users to see, hear, and interact with other people anywhere else on the planet as though they were occupying the same space. Now, the new platform does enable virtual and AR from any device through what is dubbed as mixed reality applications. Now, the new system actually makes its debut at some or are coming to accept how much virtual reality will be a permanent fixture of everyday life, used to supplement the expense of business travel or real-world experiences. Now, we've seen augmented reality put things in our real-life spaces a lot with Google, for example, when Google was coming out with that. If you Google search tiger, for example, you can have a tiger on your phone, and then it'll be in the space you're having your camera pointed at.
Yeah.
And the same thing Amazon is doing as well, by the way. Amazon is doing it with furniture. Would you like to see this furniture piece in your house using augmented reality? So why not?
Yeah, I think even IKEA came up with a very similar invention. So now you can actually feel like you're in the same place with that person you're meeting with or sharing content with.
Yeah, so why not utilize that technology and put it somewhere where you need it the most? But at the same time, I feel like kind of people now have to stand up when they're talking. You know, like they're making it like they're doing a meeting.
Basically, they'll feel like nothing has changed except the fact that you're seeing someone
You
through
know
a
what?
screen.
I'm imagining, Omnia, you know, like a little box on every chair in a meeting room, right? And then you log into that box and you're like, and you're like, it's a hologram.
A hologram.
Yeah, and you're looking at everyone, and you can see I mean, it'd be amazing. I mean,
It'll be
the
much
space isn't being
yeah.
occupied, but at the same time, the holograms are there. So, sounds nice to me.
I definitely agree with you, especially because there are studies from Stanford University that have actually found that spending long stretches of times in a video call can negatively affect the way we see ourselves, but also the way we interact with other people around us. And they were actually trying out this brand new system with Microsoft Mesh, and they found out that it was positively impacting all of the employees that were participating in that study, and it actually helped them focus more in those meetings, but helped them view themselves in a much less critical way, since now it felt like mingling like they would in real life during the normal circumstances that they would usually have. And this product will be life-changing for anyone who's been working remotely for a while.
Yes, now Microsoft Mesh does aim to do the same for experiences that can be had in a virtual reality headset and augmented reality headset. Now, in Microsoft's version for mixed reality, experiences can actually vary widely from virtual meetings to concerts. Now, at the launch event, the Redmond, Washington company brought in filmmaker James Cameron and Pokemon Go developer Niantic and co-founder of a couple other companies to demonstrate Mesh. And just like Xbox, the success of Mesh will actually depend largely on people's willingness to shell out for devices. Now, while the system will be available on most virtual reality headsets, PC tablets and smartphones may expect the best experience to be had on Microsoft's HoloLens 2, which comes at a hefty price tag of $3,500, so around 12,000 dirhams.
Yes, indeed. Now, a preview for the general public of the Microsoft Mesh app for Hololens was available earlier this week, and people have been trying it out. They've been excited about it, and we are personally very excited to see it come to life as well. Let us know your thoughts. Our text lines are open 4215 do Itisalat or slide into RDMs at Pulse 95 Radio. What do you think of having the option to teleport yourself as a hologram to your virtual meeting? Will this make Zoom meetings become a little bit more entertaining? Coming up on the show, we're going to be talking all about Twitter cracking down on COVID-19 vaccine misinformation.
Pulse 95.
Apps all around.
What's worth a click and download?
Now, the fight against misinformation has begun ever since the COVID-19 pandemic started, and we saw it kind of trickle down to the U.S. presidential elections, and now back again because of the COVID-19 vaccine. But Twitter is now cracking down on COVID vaccine misinformation. Now, Twitter does say that it has begun labeling tweets that do include misleading information about the COVID-19 vaccines, and even using and implementing a strike system to eventually remove accounts that repeatedly violate the rules.
Can I just say, I think Twitter liked the fact that they were able to
Remove Donald Trump?
Yes, to kick Donald Trump off of their platform, that now they're thinking about implementing it with other people as well.
I mean, because Twitter does come off as kind of a troll platform.
Yeah.
A lot of trolls are on it, and
Because people can be anonymous. They can have different usernames, and no one knows who it is that is saying what.
yeah, and I believe that's why with their new Twitter Spaces kind of room feature, that's why they're only allowing verified accounts to create rooms and speak. Because right now, as I'm on air talking to you guys and talking about what we're talking about, I could create an account in less than 30 seconds. In less than 30 seconds, I can create a new account, name it, hey, Hani, talking weird stuff 1, 2, 3. Right? And start trolling people.
And the hate will be... it will get out of control.
Yeah, so I'm telling you, that's why I believe Twitter is trying to make Twitter a safer place.
Exactly. And they've actually started using human reviewers to assess whether or not these tweets are violating the policy against the COVID vaccine misinformation. And we do know that a lot of conspiracy theories have been coming out about the COVID-19 vaccine. People were worried about it, but now that more and more people are taking it, I feel like the fears have calmed down a little bit, yet misinformation is still widespread on social media platforms. So this work that will be done on Twitter's platforms will be a mixture of human power, but also smart AI implementing it. So human reviewers will start marking what is considered as COVID-19 vaccine misinformation, and then the AI will start tracking the trends of how often these information is being spread on the platform itself.
Yes, now talking about the strike system now, if you have one violation or strike, you will see no action. But after 2 strikes, it will lead to an account being locked for 12 hours.
It's like timeout.
Yeah, but 5 or more will get a user permanently banned from Twitter. Kind of like that saying, 3 strikes and you're out in baseball. And that's what Twitter is implementing. And we've also seen Facebook actually step up to the plate on its vaccine misinformation fight after years of half-hearted enforcement. They also did announce an expanded policy last month that also did include all vaccines, not just those against COVID-19. Because recently, I mean, believe it or not, a lot of people are now anti-vaxxers.
Yes.
And this was before the COVID-19 pandemic. A lot of people spread misinformation saying vaccines caused autism. And now I think the main platform that was promoting that, or not them promoting that, but had people promoting that, was Facebook.
Yeah, and now Twitter is hoping that with its strike system, it would help educate people on why certain content breaks our rules and why people should be taking responsibility for what they post on a certain platform. Just because this is social media and people can have, that little bit of freedom of speech, it does not mean that you can go ahead and spread false information, grow fear in many people's hearts, but also cause a lot of damage, since people who can take the vaccine should be taking it so that we can help protect those who are unable to take it as well.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, let us know your guys' thoughts. 4215, do it slot or on Instagram at Pulse95 Radio. Are you a loyal listener to Pulse 95, to Future Talk? Well, let us know. Party next door. Loyal.
How do you tech? How do you tech?
Wearing headphones for long periods of time can definitely impact how good our hearing is. And if you're someone, especially as a kid, if you've worn headphones for far too long and you visited an ENT doctor, you must have probably heard that you keep your music too loud on.
Yes, Omnia, actually, something happened to me about 2 weeks ago, right?
2 weeks?
2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah. And I never noticed that. I do think it's kind of more of my mind playing games on me.
Your ears were ringing?
But I was reading something online and a lot of people were complaining about their ears ringing, right? And as soon as I heard ears ringing, all of a sudden my ears started ringing. And for every night, for 2 weeks before I sleep, I could hear.
Oh my God. Do you know there's a saying in Arabic that if your right ear starts ringing, that means someone is speaking good about you.
They just have problems with hearing. That Arabic saying is bad because science just said that obviously your earlobes are dying. Not earlobes, your eardrums are dying and you're hurting them because of hearing, because of listening to loud music and using headphones for a long period of time. And now this is how Apple is going to make sure that your hearing is not impacted.
Yes, indeed. Now, Apple did actually carry out a study to see how damaging turning up certain tunes is on our ears. And those studies have actually been showing that 1 out of 10 people have actually struggled with having headphone exposure that is louder than what is usually recommended by the World Health Organization. So this actually causes a lot of people to think twice before raising up that volume. And just like you mentioned, Hani, a lot of people have actually recently, after the COVID-19 lockdown, been experiencing ringing in their ears multiple times a week. And I don't want to scare you, but this does look like...
But I'll tell you...
It looks like a sign of hearing damage.
No, hopefully I have no hearing damage. I do use my headphones a lot, though. I'm always listening to things.
Is the volume too high?
At times, but the thing is, Omnia...
Yeah.
It could be your mind playing games on you because after you've read something... Because when I forgot about it, the ringing stopped.
Yeah.
You know, after I thought it was done. And sometimes it could be a little bit just for the time being if you're exposed for, let's say, 10 minutes loud music. Because I remember one time I was at a concert when I was around 18. And it's a concert. So I go back home and I remember, like it hurt. So the ring was so loud and then it was gone. So sometimes it could just be for that time you were exposed to hearing. And I actually did a test for one day. I didn't wear headphones on. And then AirPods on. So then when I went to sleep, I didn't feel anything.
Well, that goes to show that we do need to keep in mind how loud is the music in our ears is whenever we're using headphones. Apple actually did find out that the World Health Organization estimates that more than 700 million people globally will experience some form of a hearing loss by the year 2050.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
I hope I don't have hearing loss by 2050.
Hopefully not. And this is exactly why Apple is actually making a lot of moves to help prevent
And by
that.
the way, I can hear the ringing now because we're talking about it.
Because we're talking about it?
I think, if you be quiet for about a second, right?
Okay.
Can you hear it?
No.
No, you can't. I think I have hearing problems.
I think you just need to reduce the volume on your headset.
I'm hearing it now. It's like...
Or I have a trick for you if you have an Apple Watch. But anyone tuning in, if you have an Apple Watch, go ahead and check out the new app that the Apple Watch has actually launched for World Hearing Day that was happening earlier this week. There's a new app, which is a part of the health app, that can actually measure your headphone audio levels. So you can go ahead and measure the exposure that you have of certain audios every week, the past hour, the past day, the past month, or even the past year. And the application is called the Noise app. So it's like a sister app to the health app on our Apple Watch, but it can measure ambient sound levels in our environment and identify when the decibel level could negatively impact our hearing. So if the sound is too loud, as an Apple Watch user, you will receive alerts with a tap on your wrist, alarming you to go ahead and reduce the audio on your headphones.
Yeah, I'm hearing the ring now. I'm hearing it all the time.
I can feel you're just zoning out.
I'm trying to focus on the hearing, but ladies and gentlemen, sometimes it could be your mind playing games on you. It could be, but if you do have any concerns, go and check it out. Your hearing is very important. And I see some people, sometimes they'll put their music full when they're in the car, they were just having a good
my
time.
God.
But sometimes most of the time it will hurt your hearing.
And it's good to find like an app that can easily measure it through your AirPods.
Yeah.
When you have your AirPods on, try it out.
My phone, my Apple Watch does say like, hey,
It will nudge you.
it's too loud.
Perfect.
So if anyone did experience something like this, let us know 4215 do it slot or on Instagram at Pulse95 Radio. Hopefully all your hearing is good. I know it's the weekend. You're going to be a little bit too excited on your way home.
Hype up the
listening to
music.
music. Obviously with the Pulse 95. But again, be thoughtful and remind yourself that your hearing can be damaged.
Yes, indeed. Future Talk is coming to an end, but we want to wish you a blessed afternoon and weekend. Make sure you keep Pulse 95 locked because coming up is the show that will help you celebrate the weekend as well. Afternoon Karak is coming in hot with Aisha Al-Mazmi and Makil Atiyah, bringing you their well-known weekend recommendations. So keep Pulse 95 locked and we'll catch you again on Sunday.
Yes, and there's a couple secrets that Afternoon Karak just might tell you.
If you liked this episode of Future Talk, drop a like and subscribe.
Pulse 95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.